China has now taken its rare earth restrictions a step further, extending its control to cover key rare earth technologies as well. After these new restrictions were announced, the global market reacted sharply. Prices of several rare earth materials surged as industries scrambled to secure supplies. But before diving deeper into these new regulations, it's important to first understand what rare earth elements actually are and why they hold such a critical place in the modern world. Rare earth elements are a group of 17 special metals that include lanthanum, cerium, praseodymium, neodymium, promethium, samarium, europium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, holmium, erbium, thulium, ytterbium, and lutetium, along with scandium and yttrium, that play a key role in powering today's modern world. They're used in electric vehicles, wind turbines, drones, smartphones, defense, and even data centers, basically almost every advanced technology we rely on. Even though we call them rare earth elements, they aren't actually that rare. These metals exist in many places around the world, and some are about as common as copper or tin in the Earth's crust. The tricky part is that they are rarely found in large, concentrated amounts. Usually, they appear mixed together with other elements and sometimes with radioactive materials like uranium and thorium. What makes rare earths even more challenging is their chemical nature. They're difficult to separate from the surrounding rock and from each other, which makes purifying them a complex task. Mining and processing them also require massive investment, advanced technology, strict regulations, and carries serious environmental risks including radioactive water, toxic chemicals like fluorine, and strong acids. That's why even countries rich in these resources often struggle to develop them. Even though these metals are everywhere, getting usable amounts of them is not easy or clean. Today, China dominates the global rare earth industry, producing 70% of the world's supply and handling around 90% of the refining and processing. When we look at rare earth reserves around the world, China has an astonishing 44 million metric tons, more than any other nation by far. To compare, Vietnam has 22 million tons, Brazil and Russia each hold 21 million tons, India comes in with 6.9 million tons, Australia 4.2 million tons, the United States 2.3 million tons, and even Greenland has just 1.5 million tons. China's dominance in rare earth minerals didn't happen overnight. It took decades of smart planning, scientific expertise, and a bit of geological luck, giving China a near unshakable grip on the global supply chain. Even a small disruption in China's rare earth supply chain can send shockwaves through the global market, affecting industries worldwide. In 2022 alone, global trade in industries that depend on rare earths reached over $13 trillion. Electric vehicles alone, each one using more than a kilo of rare earth minerals, brought in $425 billion that year. And this is just the beginning. As the world races toward clean energy and net zero goals, the demand for rare earth elements is expected to skyrocket, 3 to 7 times higher by 2040. But now, things aren't running as smoothly as before. The world is witnessing growing trade tensions and supply chain disruptions, especially between major powers like the US and China. What was once a steady flow of rare earth materials has now become a strategic battlefield. As countries tighten their export rules and compete for control, the global rare earth supply chain is feeling the pressure. Back in April 2025, China made a bold move. It placed 7 medium and heavy rare earth elements, including samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, scandium, and yttrium, and associated magnets under strict export controls. These minerals are crucial for aerospace defense technologies, medical devices, sensors, nuclear reactor, LED lighting, and laser systems. China has now taken its rare earth restrictions a step further, expanding its control to include key rare earth technologies from mining, processing to magnet manufacturing. These restrictions significantly restrict overseas semiconductor production expansion. Leading global foundry Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company relied on China's consumable materials for 30% of its production capacity for chips at 7 nanometers and below, while Samsung recently placed an order for sputtering target materials from China for its 300-layer VNAND. Now, because of uncertainty in rare earth supply, these companies need to rebuild their supply chain. Starting on November 8th, the export of items involving super hard materials, equipment, and raw materials associated with rare earths, 5 medium and heavy rare earth elements including holmium, lithium batteries, and synthetic graphite anode materials will require government approval before shipment. The exports will not be allowed if the items go to foreign military users or organizations on China's watch list. Certain advanced technologies, like making logic chips smaller than 14 nanometers, storage chips with more than 256 layers, or AI with military use, will be approved only on a case-by-case basis. The reason why China tightening the rule is some Chinese technologies were being sent abroad and used in military or sensitive areas, which China says could harm its security. China wants to prevent these exports from affecting global stability and non-proliferation efforts. And, as I mentioned earlier, rare earth minerals aren't found alone. They're buried deep in the Earth's crust, mixed with other minerals, which makes them difficult and messy to extract. The process often causes serious environmental damage, from toxic waste to soil and water pollution. In short, China is tightening control over critical technologies, making it harder for foreign organizations to get rare earth tech and advanced chip-related materials without permission, and the government wants to protect the environment. Now, if a company wants to export any product that contains rare earth materials worth 0.1% or more of the total product's value, it must first get a special export license from the Chinese government. Not only that, if a company uses Chinese technology for mining, refining, or recycling rare earth magnets, they'll also need to apply for a license before they can export those products. Let's say a company in China makes electric motors that are worth $10,000 each. Inside each motor, there are rare earth magnets that help it run efficiently. Those magnets are small but very powerful, and they're made from rare earth materials like neodymium or dysprosium. Now, if the value of those rare earth materials inside the motor is $10 or more, which is 0.1% of $10,000, the company must apply for a special export license from the Chinese government before shipping the motor overseas. In simple terms, Beijing wants to closely monitor and control how rare earth materials and technologies are used abroad, especially in sensitive industries like defense, electronics, and semiconductors. This gives China greater leverage over the global supply chain and ensures that its rare earth know-how doesn't benefit rival nations without permission. This isn't the first time China has shaken up the global rare earth supply. In fact, China has done it before. Back in 2010, China shook up the global rare earth supply after a trade dispute with Japan. That 2010 crisis was more than just a trade dispute, it was a turning point. The world finally realized that China didn't just dominate rare earth mining, it owned almost the entire supply chain, from digging the metals out of the ground to refining them into high-tech materials. While other countries were debating environmental rules or chasing cheap imports, China was building the full ecosystem, investing in research, refining technologies, and even training thousands of engineers specialized in rare earth chemistry. Bit by bit, it gained total control over the one thing modern technology can't live without. As I mentioned before, China controls over 90% of the world's rare earth refining and separation. That means if a company wants to build electric cars, wind turbines, or fighter jets, it almost always needs materials that at some point pass through Chinese hands. The same time in the US, Molycorp reopened its Mountain Pass mine in California, investing hundreds of millions of dollars to restart domestic production. But the excitement didn't last long. By 2012, a trade dispute filed by the US, Japan, and the European Union led the World Trade Organization to pressure China into relaxing its export restrictions. Once the floodgates opened, prices crashed, and the rare earth boom collapsed just as quickly as it began. By 2015, Molycorp had gone bankrupt, and the irony? The same American mine that once symbolized independence now ships its ore back to China for processing. Now, history seems to be repeating itself. Once again, China's new regulations on rare earth exports have pushed countries like the United States, India, Japan, Australia, and Turkey to reduce their dependence on China. Many of these nations are now signing Memorandum of Understanding and forming partnerships to secure their domestic demand of rare earth. India started its National Critical Minerals Mission, NCMM, in January 2025, and Japan launched its 7th Strategic Energy Plan, SEP, in February 2025. Both countries are working to secure access to critical minerals, which are essential for things like electronics, electric vehicles, and renewable energy technologies. These efforts show that India and Japan are aligning their strategies and could strengthen their partnership. The United States is also taking big steps to reduce its reliance on China for rare earths. First, the U.S. is boosting domestic production, supporting companies like MP Materials to mine and process rare earths right at home. At the same time, investments are being made in domestic facilities to turn these raw materials into finished products, like permanent magnets, instead of sending them abroad. The U.S. is also forming strategic partnerships with countries like Australia, India, Pakistan, and Greenland to secure alternative sources. U.S. Strategic Metals, which signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Pakistan in September, has just sent its first batch of mineral samples to the United States. As part of the agreement, the American company plans to invest nearly $500 million to build mineral processing and development facilities in Pakistan, marking a big step forward in strengthening the country's critical minerals industry. To stay prepared, it's building stockpiles and strategic reserves, ensuring supply in case of shortages or trade disruptions. And on top of that, research and innovation are being pushed forward, exploring ways to recycle rare earths and develop substitutes, making the nation less dependent on imports. All these steps together show a clear push by the U.S. to regain control over the rare earth supply chain and reduce China's dominance. As China tightens its grip on rare earth exports once again, the world stands at a crossroads. These tiny minerals power our phones, electric cars, fighter jets, satellites, and wind turbines, the very backbone of modern technology. So, any disruption in supply doesn't just slow down factories. It can ripple through global industries, raising prices, delaying innovation, and even impacting national security. But this time, the world is better prepared. Australia Critical Minerals Alliance and India-Japan cooperation deals to secure and share resources. Still, rebuilding what China perfected over decades won't be easy. Mining is only the first step. Refining rare earths safely and efficiently is the real challenge. It may take years, but the direction is clear. The world wants a rare earth supply chain that's diverse, resilient, and not controlled by a single country. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It's a great way to let me know you'd like more content like this. If you aren't already part of our community, I'd love to have you subscribe. And don't forget to tap that bell icon so you're notified whenever we post a new video. See you in the next one.